Thank you, Mr. President. On the resolution, I am excited always for Black History Month. It is a time where we get to reflect on who we are as a people and how far we still must go to achieve equality. And I was honored by our leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, to kick off with this resolution. And it truly is an honor to speak about Black history from somebody who has made Black history. I mean, we're all well aware that Leader Stewart-Cousins is the first African-American woman to lead a conference in the history of the state of New York's legislature, and that is no small feat, but I want you to look at the breadth of the person that our leader is. Dignified, experienced, and qualified to lead. And when you look at Black history and you look at what's happened to people throughout our history, sometimes you think people get somewhere because of the color of their skin, and Andrea arrived because of who she was. History is defined as a series of events that have taken place in the past, but history is evolving and is ongoing all the time. We have history every day. In addition to Andrea Stewart-Cousins, we have the first African-American woman to be counsel and chief of staff in Chantel Smith. Black history is everywhere. In the resolution, February 3rd kept coming up, and February 3rd, 2015 was the day that my mentor, Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, became the first African-American speaker in the history of the state of New York. But it's not just about being the first. It's not just about being the last or the most recent. It's about making sure that what you do matters. And everything that we do matters. And I was thinking about Black History Month, and I was reflecting on things, and and I have a family group chat, Mr. President. Sometimes my family group chat, it goes haywire, right? But I asked the members of my family today, what does Black history mean to you? My Aunt Esther Powell. Look at the Blacks who have opened doors for us. So many achievements on the shoulders of others, we have made many great accomplishments. My cousin Mel. It means motivation, faith, and take a stand. Black History Month will forever remind us how far we've come from being slaves and being called certain derogatory phrases. My Aunt Sherry. When I was in grade school, it meant just another report I had to write. I didn't appreciate the substance of it, but as I grew, I learned there was so much more. A time to reflect on what was done by others for the betterment of those currently in the struggle and for those in the future. Young people today need to understand their worth in this world. My Aunt Barbara, a teacher. Black History Month, to me, is bringing to the forefront all of the people, the accomplishments of the well-known and little well-known Black people who contributed to this country. From Dr. Charles Drew, his medical contributions, to Matthew Henson, the explorer. All of these things must become known to teachers by incorporating these facts in everyday teaching in all schools, not just in predominantly minority schools. This should include Latinos and Native Americans and everyone. History must reflect all people and not just be one-sided. So I got that text, and then I called my wife and asked my daughter, my 4-year-old, on the way to school, what does Black history mean to you, Giada? She said, Black is being Black and Puerto Rican. You see, at 4 years old, she knows that she's Black and Puerto Rican. She knows that she has a heritage, a legacy that of kings and queens that she builds upon. So she may not know exactly who Carter G. Woodson is or who Garrett A. Morgan is, but she understands her place in this world. And as a father, that's all I can ask, that my wife and I continue to instill in that. But sometimes they say, well, Black history is American history. Why don't we, maybe we don't have to teach it. That's, as we've seen, Black history should be taught all the time. You see, people still think that it's okay to put blackface on as a joke. It's never been okay. It never will be okay. If Black history was taught more, I think people would get that. We have to make sure we think about the legends in our society. Jackie Robinson, the first African-American player to cross the color line in baseball, but not just Jackie Robinson, Curt Flood, the modern day, the father of free agency. Without Curt Flood challenging the reserve clause, free agency in sports would not exist. Willie O'Ree, the first African American to play in the NHL. Fritz Pollard, the first African American to play and coach in the NFL. We know Carol Moseley Braun, the first African American female senator, and Shirley Chisholm, who told us if we don't have a seat at the table, we're going to bring a folding chair. We talk about in music, the accomplishments that black folks have made, from James Brown to Miles Davis to New Edition to Jay-Z to Nas to a whole new world of people accomplishing great things. You see colorism, that it still happens in our community, and we need to teach ourselves within the black community that I'm no less black because I'm light-skinned, and you're no more black because you're dark-skinned. We're all one people. We're all together. I can't tell you, Mr. President, how many light-skinned jokes I've had to endure, and all I want to do is be proud and black like all the other proud black people are. I think about the unofficial black national anthem of "Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring." And we sing that so often at gatherings in the black community and churches, but we only sing the first verse, Mr. President. After that, we start humming. We don't really, we don't, we know how that goes. But it's important, one of the lyrics in the song is, "We will march on until victory is won." You see, we still haven't accomplished what we need to have accomplished yet. And we've made gains. But if there's a marathon that's running and it's 26.2 miles and somebody has a 24-mile advantage, it's going to take you a while to catch up. It doesn't matter how fast we run, but eventually I think we're going to catch up. I think about the Constitution, thinking about black people as 3/5 of a human being once upon a time. 3/5. And I think about how 2/3 of the people in the room in the state of New York are African Americans. That's the kind of math I like, Mr. President. To close, I think about how we need to come together as one, and we come together on what would have been the 24th birthday of Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin was killed for nothing else than being black and wearing a hoodie. Let's be very clear about that. This is why we need Black History Month. This is why we have to have conversations with each other. This is why this month is so vital and so important, regardless of where you come from, whether it be from Jamaican descent like my brother Leroy Comrie, whether you're from Guyana like the wonderful Roxanne Prasad, or if you're from Johnson County, North Carolina, like myself. We all have a story. And the story is ingrained in the history of America. And yes, black history is American history. But let's continue to march on until victory is won. Thank you, Mr. President.